I think we're ready to get this thing started. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm Eric Edelmayer with the Noble Company. My compadre here is Dave Kennedy. We're gonna go and do a little demo here on the ProBase 2 pre-waterproof base. We're gonna kind of cover from the beginning to the end. But before I get started, I'd kind of like just give you a little brief history. The product kind of started with our Pro Slope product. This particular product was designed for full mortar bed applications that it would go down on the floor, and it's simply giving it to the pitch of the slope to the drain. Your vinyl liner or a chloride type of liner would go right on top of it, and then a dry packed mortar bed. This product kind of evolved to the next product. Let me just get rid of that. Kind of evolved into our next product was the very similar thing, but what we did is we added a structural component to the top of it so that basically it could carry the load or support it without the need for the mortar bed. That led to the subject today of our ProBase 2 pre-waterproof. This particular product has a ANSI 118.10 membrane on the top of it, which is a load-bearing bonded waterproofing membrane, which actually is a structural base now that we can tile directly to this without the need of a mortar bed whatsoever. Also, before we get started, I would like to point out that this video, or this webinar is not a replacement for the written directions. Read the directions. Don't just go by what we're doing here. This is kind of an overview. Our substrates, whether it's a concrete substrate or a plywood substrate, needs to conform to the ANSI guidelines. It needs to be flat, smooth, level, free of dirt, bond breakers, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, if it's slab, it needs to be dry. But with all that said, let's kind of get started here. Go ahead, Dave. So, we started with a drain.
So first of all, Noble Company has a proprietary drain. It's our Freestyle thin bed drain. The drain is either ABS or PVC. It has a socket weld fitting or a glued fitting. You don't have to use a Fernco or a rubber hub to make the connection that could possibly leak down the road later. As you can see, it has a 1/2 inch tall profile. So it's pretty easy to achieve a roll-in shower with that 1/2 inch tall profile. Right. But what really differentiates ourselves from the competition is that it has a clamping ring. Okay. We know that a clamping ring is the most robust seal that there is. Been used for many years, and your other 3-part clamping ring drain. It has internal weep, so your system will weep. Yep. And continue to dry out with the proper slope.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all the water ends up at the drain, so you want to make sure you have a good mechanical connection there.
It does. Now, it includes a high-quality brass plated strainer. In this case, this is a brushed nickel. As you can see, the low profile of the strainer. So you can use a 1/8 tile to do your installation with and still have a nice smooth transition from the tile to your strainer. Okay. Also, that is it's threaded into the drain body. So when you do your tile installation, if you want to do a straight pattern, fine. If you want to do a 45, you just simply turn it. So you don't have to worry about how to orientate the drain when you install that.
Yep. And it's available in several finishes?
Yes, it's available in several finishes. It's like I said, it's got brushed nickel, chrome, oil rub bronze, a golden nickel, and a flat black.
That flat black's got to be popular.
It's getting very popular.
Yep.
Right now.
I know that's proprietary to the base here, but the base itself is a little bit different as well.
It is. So our ProBase 2 multi-slope base is a composite foam and honeycomb structure. As you can see, there's the foam substrate on it, and there's a honeycomb structure that's glued to the top of it. It's a 1/4 inch thick. What that structure does is add a lot of compression strength to the base. It's a 235 PSI compression strength on that base. In this case, you can see that this is our pre-waterproof base. Mm-hmm. It's also available in an unwaterproof version too.
Right. I mean, nobody else has that honeycomb. Why? Well, it's got to add some strength to it.
It adds a lot of strength to it. The thing is too, with this, you don't have to worry about the size tile that you use. You could even use penny rounds with this. You don't have to worry about the grout. You don't have to use the epoxy grout.
Compression rings. Is there a test method to rate these systems like this?
There is. There's what they call the ball drop test. We'll show a short video of the ball drop test.
Great. See whether this cues up or not.
So this ball drop test is dropped from 3 feet. And as you can see it hitting the competitor's base.
How high
It's about a pound, one
Okay,
pound ball.
1 pound ball.
Yep. So you can see the divot that leaves in that foam base.
Okay,
See, we
pouring
put
a little water in.
a little dirty water on there to show that the divot. Now
Yeah.
it doesn't drain away.
Right, it just kind of collects in that divot.
It collects in the divot, right. If you don't fix that before the water membrane goes on, you're always going to have a little bird bath.
I imagine that would make
And
your tile possibly discolor, your grout discolor.
It will. As you
Holding
see,
water like that, yeah.
Same.
Oh yeah.
Same thing here.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, look at it. It just holds that water right in that little divot.
It does. Yep. You know, you're gonna have to worry about standing on it, stepping on it, a ladder.
A ladder, yeah.
Ladder possibly.
Yeah, because electricians would never do that.
Never.
No.
No.
There's a different base here.
Again, different base. Yep.
Yeah.
Same result.
Yeah, that 1 pound ball puts a dent in it.
It does.
You know, I could hardly imagine what a pair of high heels would do.
Well, so moving on.
Like you never. All right. Oh,
So again, this is just your standard foam.
Yep.
And see
Yeah, that even
the
caught the
double
second bounce. Yeah.
Double bounce. Again, it's holding water in the dent.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the next one up will be our ProBase 2.
That looks like the ProBase 2,
Yeah,
but the non-waterproof.
As a non-waterproof version of ProBase 2. As you can see, when it dropped from 3 feet, it didn't leave a dent at all.
Yeah, I really can't even tell where it hit.
Right. So as you run the water over it, it's going to weep away.
Yeah, doesn't collect there.
Doesn't collect there.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, that's impressive. Let's show how these get this base installed and move back over to our mock-up. And
so first of all, what we're going to want to do with this system is we're going to want to first of all lay our shower out. We're going to want to determine where our curb's going to be and where our drain's going to be. So as you can see, I've got the small mock-up. So we're going to lay the curb out to this point out here, and then in this instance, I'm going to place the drain in the center of the base. So I've drilled my 4-inch hole in my substrate to accept the drain in the center of the base. Once I've done that, I'm going to take the drain, simply place it in the hole, 4 screws, and simply just like your standard 3-piece clamp ring drain, you're going to just screw it down to the base. Now, if it's a concrete substrate, you'll want to use a cement anchor, or a Tapcon is commonly used.
Okay.
Now, the drain's installed. Now, if you have accessibility from underneath, then you'll go ahead and glue your rough-in plumbing.
Yep.
From that.
So is there any other special tools we need for this?
So the special tools we'll need for this installation, basically, it's pretty simple tools. I mean, you'll need a straight edge. You're going to want a level to check your substrate for level and flatness. Level for the curb. You'll need a 3/8 quarter, 3/8 notch trowel to apply your modified thinset to your substrate to bond your base in. An 1/8 V-notch trowel for your membrane.
Pretty much all standard.
Pretty much all standard. I like using a margin trowel to tool in my corners. An impact wrench to do your screwdriver, whichever one you feel more comfortable with.
Right.
A Stanley knife, and a tape measure. And I've got a roller there too that I like using that roller to bond in my membrane to my walls.
Right. Okay, so the product is basically available in 5 standard sizes.
It is.
Is a 32 by 60, both center and in drain, a 38 by 38, a 48 by 48, 2 by 72, and a 48 by 72, as well as custom. You can do a custom basis.
Yes, we have a custom program. We'll fill out the form with your sizes on that base, send it in to Noble Company. Once it's approved, we'll have that shipped out in 72 hours.
Fantastic. And obviously, if it doesn't fit the size, we simply cut it somehow.
Yes, yeah. So like in this case, I have using a 32 by 60 end drain, or sorry, center drain,
Right.
and I just basically cut that size down to that. Now the bases will have a 1/4 inch per foot slope cut into that.
Okay. Let's see you cut
So
it.
that's code required. Okay. So first of all, I've laid my shower out. I've placed my drain. I'm going to then measure where my drain placement is. I'll just take the measurements side to the side of my drain.
Yep.
And then I'll transfer those measurements over to my base. Simply just hooking on to the side and making my mark and cutting it. Now, I pre-cut this base beforehand just to save time.
Right.
But I do want to show you how easy the base is to cut. Once I've made my marks, put my straight edge on it, I'll simply take my Stanley knife and I will just score that a couple times and then simply crack.
Just like backerboard, score and snap.
Just like backerboard, very simple.
Pretty easy.
Yep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry fit my base. I want to make sure that everything fits properly before I try to bond it in.
Okay.
So I pre-cut my base again. I'm going to bring it over and simply dry fit it in. I want to make sure that it's not too tight. I have the proper engagement around the drain.
Yep.
Okay. So
And
I've
that base is right to the drain size.
right to the drain size. So I've confirmed that my base is going to fit. Then I'm going to take my curb. Now, in this case, this kit came with 2-piece curb because of packaging. I had 2 30-inch curbs that I cut one down. So I take the 1 30-inch curb and place it, make sure that it's good. And then I measured and I cut the other piece of curb, then place it, dry fit it in, make sure it's not too tight. I've got a little room for thinset. Now that I've confirmed that my base and my curbs fit, I'm ready for the install.
And the curbs are part of the kit.
Curbs are part of the kit. Yep, solid curbs.
Okay.
Yep. So from here, just disassemble it. Set the base out of the way. Get my thin set ready. Now, we're going to be using a A118.4 modified thin set or better.
But depending on the substrate,
Depending on the substrate,
Yep.
correct. That's minimum requirement. So I'm going to take my 1/4 3/8 trowel, and then I'm going to apply my thin set to my base. First of all, I'm going to take my thin set, and I'm going to go key it in or burn it in, make sure that I have a proper bond to my substrate.
And burning it in simply helps basically the overall bond by keying it into that substrate.
Correct. You want to make sure that you don't have what they call maybe a dust bond to it. If there's some dust on it,
Yep.
you're going to make sure that you're 100% adhesion to your substrate. Now, depending on the substrate, if it's concrete, you may have to take a sponge and wet the concrete down so your thin set doesn't flash over.
Right.
Because if it flashes over, then it's not going to transfer to the base, and it's not going to bond to it.
Moisture just gets sucked in by that slab.
It does. It's basically like laying a large piece of tile. Okay. Now that I've keyed it in, I'm going to go ahead and apply my bond coat of Thinset.
What size notch are you using?
I'm using a 3/8 1/4 3/8 notch trowel.
Okay.
I'm going to directional trowel it, just like you would with tile. So as you set the base in, the air will escape.
Right.
And you won't get any air pockets underneath.
And you're doing that in parallel rows.
Parallel rows, correct.
Yep. Now, do you like your Thinset a little bit on the looser side for doing this typically?
Maybe a little bit, not too much. Of course, you know, if you add too much water to, you compromise the integrity of the
Right.
Thinset.
Yeah, never exceed the limits.
Never exceed the limit, correct. One last time with the, make sure my Thinset's nice and even.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how that if you stepped on that when working your way out, the air would basically just follow the ridges or the gaps
Correct.
right out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now from here, I'm going to go ahead and take off my clamping ring. Just remove the,
Can I hold this for you?
yes, sure, thank you. Remove those 4 screws. You want to probably have a rag or a plug in the drain. Make sure that you don't drop it down the hole
Yeah.
into the pipe. Now, I'm going to be using our 250 sealant. Now, this is a low VOC sealant. It's a moisture cure sealant. That'll a small tube of that will come into the kit. Is also available in the 10.5 ounce.
Now, what's the purpose of that if you're doing, if you also have a clamping ring, why do you recommend the bead also?
Well, not only were we going to mechanically seal the membrane to the drain, we're also going to chemically seal that too.
Okay,
So
that keeps the water from probably
yeah,
coming up underneath it then.
Right. You can see I'm going to put a continuous bead right in the groove where the clamping ring engages the drain.
Okay.
Now I'm also going to put a bead between that and the outer ring or outer edge of the drain body, and that will bond the membrane to the drain body.
Okay, yep, that'll seal that in there.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to be ready to install the base. First of all, I have to put some, I have to key in some Thinset to the base.
For the same reason, I imagine.
For the same reason, I want to make sure I have the proper bond into that. So again, I'll just modify Thinset, take the flat edge of the trowel. Just be careful not to get any Thinset in the drain area.
Right. So you don't need a lot there. You just really just getting a coating on it.
That, again, just hit. Now take off the excess so you don't have too much Thinset in one spot.
Yep.
Now, in this case, this base is folded in half. I'll just add just a touch of Thinset in that seam there, just to glue the two pieces together. Yeah, not too much, just a little bit. So squeeze through. So, okay. All right. So then we're going to just go ahead and drop this right in place.
Let me hand it to you here.
Sure. Thank you.
Got her?
I've got her. Start one side, the hardest part of the installation. Yep. Drop it in, push it down, make sure that, again, it engages around the drain body properly. And then just basically take it one side and walk
the air right out.
Walk the air right out. Mm-hmm.
Now I imagine it's not you'd be walking on it instead of
walk right on that. I won't have to work again with the honeycomb. I don't have to worry about denting it.
Right. Yeah, I would think with some of those other bases that were a little softer, like that we showed earlier, even walking on it could be dangerous with your heels from boots and whatnot.
Yep. So now I've got the base in. Okay. I'm ready to install my clamping ring.
Let me set that in.
Take my screwdriver or my impact wrench again. Now you can feel where the holes for the screw or the threaded holes for the screws are pretty easily through this. So I got one here, so I'm going to go ahead and place my clamping ring right on that hole. Just simply kind of poke a hole in it.
Yep.
Pretty simple. My screw gun. Don't tighten up too much. The other one.
And it doesn't make any difference what order
It doesn't.
you generally cross them, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. I'll cross them. Again, it doesn't make difference the order. That's it.
That was pretty easy.
Pretty simple.
All right.
Okay. Now, you notice that I've got a little bit of membrane that's sticking over the drain. I'll just take my knife and I'll just cut out the excess. That allows the drain strainer to screw down into the drain body. Well, we've got one other step here that I want to do before we get to the curb. I'm going to take my margin trowel, one of the handiest tools that I have to do this. I want to make sure that I tool that 150 sealant tightly into the membrane right at that drain body. Just make sure it's nice and smooth transition. Okay. Now we're ready for the curb.
Okay, which one you want first?
I'll take the full length curb first.
30-inch curb.
Again, just like the base, I'm going to want to key in some thinset to the bottom of the curb. Simply.
Burning it in again.
Burn it again. Yep. Now I'll also put some thinset on the end of the curb to bond it into the wall.
Now this is a solid foam curb.
Solid foam curb. So I'll simply set the curb in. I'll push it into the wall, set it in place, make sure it's snug to my base.
Yep, and this, I imagine this is just cut with a standard saw.
Standard saw, chop saw, hand saw. Yeah, pretty easy to cut. Okay. Again, my cut piece. Burn in a little thinset bottom. Add some to both ends this time because I need to bond it or glue it to the
right.
The other curb. Like I said, this is where you want it.
Fits right
you
in
don't want
there.
the curb to be too tight, so it allows you to squeeze it in and get some thinset.
Yep, kind of cuts off the excess anyhow.
Kind of cuts off, scrape off the excess. All right. Now the curb's in place. Now you take your level, make sure that the curb is straight and the curb is level.
You give it a little kick sometimes.
If you want to give it a little kick, you've got enough thinset in there, you can give it a little kick so you got a little bit of a slope into the shower.
Yeah, just not so much that it keeps the door from opening.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
obviously, somewhere we got to get some sort of a waterproofing on this wall from the horizontal to vertical transition or floor to wall.
We do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install our inside corners.
Okay.
So the kit will include 4 of our thin line corners. You can see very thin, has a bondable fleece on that. So there's not a lot of buildup because they're so thin. So I'll just take my margin trowel and my thinset over and apply modified thinset to where I'm going to place my corner. I'm going to go ahead and do the inside one here first. Basically, just make sure you get enough thinset to complete coverage on that. And then just set the corner in place. And as you can see, just tool it down in. Hold it there and then tool the thinset out.
Okay.
So you don't have much buildup at all. You just want to, again, make sure that you have 100% coverage behind that corner. Get rid of the excess.
Nice. So we're doing that in all four corners.
All four corners. So again, make sure that that corner is in there tight and tooled in. So I'll repeat that same process in all four corners.
All right. So right now we've got the curb comes with the base, the corners come with the base.
Corners come with the base, correct.
It's not.
It is. Yep. Just you always want to pay attention to the detail on this. These are critical points in your waterproofing.
That pre-made corner is probably a lot easier than trying to fold it or create your own somehow.
Well, yeah, if you did a fold, then you've got the buildup of the fold.
Right.
It's really impossible to create your own corner without having a pinhole involved.
Okay, now is that same corner that you use with all Noble Company?
It is on all the bondable sheet
All the bondable
membrane,
sheet
on the
membranes?
bondable, correct.
Okay.
Yep, you can use with TS, Noble Deck, Value Seal, the SIS.
Okay.
And you can be used with the 250 sealant.
Okay.
Our VLC sealant, or the 150 that we've had around for many, many years.
Okay. Now, I know that you have these corners, but you also have some special corners for like neo-angle showers or something like that.
We do. We have,
like
yep,
a 45 and a 130 degree or
45
something?
45 and a 130 degree outside. Yes.
Okay. Same process.
Same process. Yep.
So, doing a neo-angle shower would really be the same as this other than the shape.
It is.
Okay.
Get rid of some of my excess here. One more corner.
Right. Got one more to go here. It really doesn't take that long to do.
No, it doesn't.
I imagine if I wasn't here talking to you, you would have been done already.
I probably would be.
What do you mean you would be? I thought I was hoping, Dave.
I mean, realistically, once the drain's installed, you could be good to go with everything on the wall in a couple hours.
Right.
Have a system in.
Well, versus probably the old convention method where you're looking at a couple of days, waiting for the dry pack to dry and.
Correct. Doing this left-handed. I'm right-handed, so the left-hand one's always a problem.
Well, yeah, and I would think that working at this height is probably a little bit more trickier than actually being on your hands and knees in the shower.
And getting right in it.
Yeah.
It's easier on the knees.
Right.
Okay.
You mentioned that there was 5 finishes for the drain earlier. There's probably future plans for additional colors at some point as popularity comes up, but I would think that flat black is.
Flat black is very popular.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I got all my inside corners in.
Okay. All right.
So from here, I want to transition my base membrane to my wall.
Right.
So there's a couple different methods to do that one. To do that. One is a cap strip method that I'm going to show you first.
Okay, and the cap strip comes right with the base again, a 5-inch wide.
It does. A roll of cap strips comes right with that.
5-inch wide, long enough to do the entire project. Okay.
So I pre-cut and pre-folded my cap strips. Basically, you cut them to the length, fold them right in half. Okay. Now I've cut a 45-degree angle on my cap strips, just so as I turn the corner, they don't interfere with each other and I got too much buildup.
Right.
Now I can either cut them in strips like this, or I can do a continue this cap strip all the way around, either one.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Right.
Yep. So pretty easily installed again, modified thin set, and then we'll just go ahead and put modified thin set where the cap strip is going to sit on the base and the wall.
Right. I noticed that you pre-crease this membrane. It holds a crease pretty well, it looks. That
It does. That's the nice thing about the value seal, along with all of our bondable membranes.
right.
They all hold the fold, so you can pre-cut and pre-fold, and it makes that installation much easier. You're
Yeah.
not,
Gives a nice tight crease.
it does. You don't have that
Corner.
little floppy noodle that you're trying to
Yeah.
push into the corner.
Yeah. Probably helps avoid that radius that you would get with a softer membrane where you just can't get it tight enough.
It does.
Yeah.
Again, I'll just, once I've got my modified thin set in.
And this is all being done with a latex modified thin set or a modified thin set.
Correct.
Okay. Not unmodified,
Not
but modified.
unmodified.
Okay.
Now, as you see me tooling out the thin set, you can see that the value seal membrane is translucent, and it shows the transfer of thin set to the membrane.
Yeah, you
So
can definitely see the dark.
Yep. So you want to see, ideally 100% dark. So
Right.
if you have a light spot in there, that tells you that, hey, I don't have enough thin set in there. And you do like to see that thin set come out on that leading edge of the membrane.
Right. As far as cutting to 45 in the corners, is that just to avoid a little bit of buildup?
It is. Yep. That's the whole idea with the thin corners and thin membrane, is so you don't have that buildup.
Now, what is the thickness of the value seal membrane?
The value seal is 15 mil.
15 thousandths, but that's
Yep,
not very much.
Yep. It has a perm rating of less than 0.5.
Okay. So I guess theoretically it could be used for almost any waterproofing application at less than 0.5.
It can be. It's rated for residential steam shower.
Okay. By the time you get that thin set in there and squeeze out, there's just not a whole lot of buildup.
There's not. You can see how thin that
Yeah.
is. Yep. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll repeat that same process. I'll go ahead and I'll do my curb.
So basically you're running a 2-inch overlap or seam here. It looks like you're approximately 2.5 inches on the vertical and 2 inches on the horizontal.
Correct.
So you want to see when the next sheet comes in, or when you overlap onto the base, you'd like to see minimum of 2-inch overlap.
Yes, we require a 2-inch is a minimum.
Okay.
Now, by using modified thin set, you go 4 or 5 inches. I don't care.
Right.
Just so you did 2-inch minimum overlap, but you have to have 100% bond between the two membranes.
Right. Okay. Yep. Holding standing water, you never get enough head pressure to force that water through that seam. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
No, you wouldn't. See how my 45 cut in the corner here doesn't interfere with the next one. Huh?
Nice trick. I bet it just minimizes 3 layers there. I've only got 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would think in a wide open area, even the linoleum roller would be anything. I mean,
Sure, you could wide open area. You could use a roller, whatever tool that you're comfortable with. Just
flat side of a trowel, margin trowel.
Flat side of a trowel. Yep. This margin trowel is just kind of my favorite go-to.
Yep. Probably even a wood float.
Wood float. Mm-hmm. Just if you're using any type of a metal trowel, make sure you file off the sharp edges on it.
Okay.
That you don't accidentally cut the membrane. Get rid of my excess.
Yeah, you're making good progress here.
And if you find a spot that looks a little light, hey, just pick that up, add a touch of Thinset to it, pull her back in.
Back to where that translucent is nice.
One. Now I'm only going to do 3 walls. I'm going to leave the my left-hand wall here to show you the other method of transitioning
Okay.
from the wall to the base.
I know the Noble Seal TS came out in 1982. How many?
I think 6-7 years. Yeah.
Okay. So it's really not a new product at all,
No.
as far as the membrane goes.
Nope. That last cap strip.
Last one. I'll get my hands in there so I can say I helped.
Yep. Tool it in. You can see that fold just holds it right where it needs to be.
I think that probably doing this in 3 or 4 pieces like you're doing is probably a little bit easier installation, but you could run it in one long piece around.
Sure, you can
measure your corners, cut them.
Corner, make a cut right there. Sure, either way.
Okay. Right now, this 4th wall you have here, you're going to show us a different method on that. You're going to show us a counter flash method where the membrane was coming basically down from the wall, simply overlapping instead of using the banding.
Correct.
Okay, and that's fine. That's warranted and everything else.
That's fine, it's warranted. That's correct.
Okay.
Now another thing, I like putting my cap strips in first. You can put your cap strips in after, but
this way would seem like it's in a shingle direction.
It's a shingle direction. It's kind of like I always say, it's kind of like tucking your raincoat in your pants.
Yep. Yeah, this way seems to make more sense. Running it, everything's running downhill. Overlap the.
Okay, just get rid of my excess. Okay, so I'm going to now show you the other method of transitioning down once I get my curb in.
Okay.
This will be the fold in the.
All right.
On the other method. But first of all, before I do any wall membrane, I've got to waterproof my curb.
I was going to question you on whether that was high enough or not.
It's not high enough. Yep. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of value seal, I pre-cut that, pre-folded it to apply over my curb. Okay.
So it's just cut to length and wrapped.
Cut length and wrap, correct.
Okay.
By pre-folding, it falls over that curb nicely. I'll take my 1/8 inch V-notch trowel now.
Right.
And I'll go ahead and I'll apply modified Thinset to the inside of the curb and my my cap strip.
So really, when it's all done, this cap strip is the curb cap is really like a giant saddle.
It is.
Just going, up and around and over the curb.
Get nice 100% coverage on that curb.
Okay. So you wrap it all the way up and around the outside.
All the way up and around the outside, correct.
Yep. What size the base is coming again? We had 5 different sizes, up to 72 inches. That's correct?
Yes, we have a 38 by 38, a 48 by 48. Both of them are center drain.
Right.
We have 32 by 60.
Right.
Yep, that end drain and center drain with those.
Okay.
48 by 72 and a 72 by 72.
Now
Those two are both center drains.
so that in drain, I mean, I would assume everything's done sloping to one end. The perimeter of that then, is that still a uniform thickness all the way around the perimeter?
It is. It's
okay.
Just like you would pour a mortar bed.
Right.
So
Okay.
uniform thickness all the way around. That end drain is a fairly common for a tub replacement.
Right.
At one end.
Yep.
Okay. Now they got my modified thin set screeded in. I'll just put that curb piece on top. Get it in place. And then a lot of times too, when we talked about bonding that, you can use flat side trowel or a roller. So I have this large laminate roller.
See, now, I don't know if that shows up on camera right now, but you can sure see the trowel marks right through the membrane. Let's see what that looks like once you roll it.
So once I roll it,
oh, look at that.
That all disappear.
Yep.
And you know I've got plenty of thin set underneath there, and I'm rolling that in nice and tight.
Yep.
Roll it in until it's completely dark.
Yeah, I hope that shows up on camera. If not, you'll have to believe me. The trowel marks basically disappear as he flattens them out. It really shows that he's got 100% contact here.
Yeah. And then I'll go ahead and run my trowel or roller down inside my curb and overlap onto my cap strip.
Right.
Push out the excess.
Okay. I'm seeing one thing here that I've got a question on that you're probably going to have an answer for is, to me right now I'm seeing the weak link here being at the sides of this curb. I mean that I know the plumbing went top of the finished curb or floodplain. Yes. Do we have corners that would catch that side there?
We do. We have our thin line corner that I'll be placing in with modified thin set to transition from the curb to the wall and also down to the cap strip.
Right. I mean, it's truly amazing that I asked you that question and you had an answer for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've done it twice, I think now.
Yeah, so. It's just.
So again, in our combo kit, we'll have 4 of the inside corners. We also supply 4 of the outside corners, depending on how your tile lays out. If you have a little dog leg,
yep.
If you want to come around with a dog leg and apply it too. But typical installation, 2 outside corners is going to be adequate here. So I'll cut my leg of my outside corner to make sure that I don't interfere with my inside corner and it doesn't bunch up.
Okay.
So I pre-cut that, confirm the fit, and just like my inside corners, I'll apply modified thin set to where the corner is going to sit on the wall, on the curb.
So there's our code requirement right there for our 2-inch.
That's right. That transitions from the curb to the wall, curb to the membrane. Again, I just tool it out. Sure it's tight and in the corner.
And obviously all this thin set that bled out beyond the seam is just covered with more thin set when you set the tile.
It is. Yeah. Just scrape off the excess,
yep.
So you don't have any bumps in it. You haven't compromised the membrane at all. Make sure that all the puckers are worked out of it. It's a nice tight fit. Okay, now at that end, my curb is transitioned to my wall.
The other side.
Yep.
Now the corners are a different color. Is that just because they're a different color?
What's that?
The corners are a different color because they're a different color. There's not any real purpose or meaning.
Not a real purpose to it. No.
Okay.
No.
Just like downtown.
Yeah. All right, so excess off. Now I'm ready to go ahead and do my wall membrane.
Right.
Okay. So we talked about the cap stripping method. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to do a wall lap onto the base. Okay.
Okay.
So I've cut a piece of wall membrane. Now, typically you'll go the height of the tile assembly. So in the kit, there's enough membrane to do 8-foot walls all the way around.
How wide is this?
The membrane is 36 inches wide. So you can hang it in a wallpaper type fashion easily. So I only have 12-inch tall walls here, backup purposes.
Right.
So what I've done is you can see that I've actually just folded in a 2-inch cap to eliminate my cap strip. So I've also cut around the curb so I can transition from the base up around the curb. Okay. So I'll simply apply modified Thinset to, I'm sorry.
Okay. We had a question come in about the dark Thinset with a light natural stone. In this particular case, most of what we're doing is the Thinset is all on the underside of the membrane. Obviously, when you set the stone on top of the base, you'd want to use the appropriate Thinset for the final flooring going in.
Correct. Yeah. No. You can use the white Thinset.
Right.
Or the gray. Doesn't really
matter. The white
matter.
or the gray, depending on the application. In this case, like I say, most of it's underneath. And if I was doing it with that, I would be using a light one instead of the gray
Correct.
one.
Yep.
Okay, well, Dave's going. I'm getting whispered at.
So I'm going to go ahead and then put some Thinset on the base where that transition is going to be.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
just we had a question come in, Dave. The curb itself is not sloped. What you do is you simply slope it slightly with a little bit of Thinset.
Slope it slightly, a little bit Thinset.
Really
you can push it. Yep.
1/4 inch slope on over across the 4-inch space there. There's not a whole lot.
There's not
just
a whole lot.
Just give it a little pitch.
Just a little bit.
And the base itself is sloped 1/4 inch per foot, starting in the corners to the center drain.
Far corners. So just like you would do a mortar bed, you would take your furthest corner, you'd measure from that to the drain body.
Right.
That is at 1/4 inch per foot. That is the height of the base.
Right. So yeah, obviously
so we make them. Yeah, we make them just like a mortar bed.
Right. So obviously the difference between measuring from my sides versus measuring from my corners, there's quite a bit difference there. But we actually measure from the corners.
Correct. If you measured from your side, which is short side, and did 1/4 inch per foot, now I don't have the proper slope to that far corner.
Far corner. Correct. Okay.
Okay. So I've screened it out. Troweled it, however, which way you want to directly trowel it. You want to do the same with that you would your base, so the air can escape through your membrane. So I've got 100% coverage. Trowel. That's plenty of Thinset to bond with. And then I'll just go ahead and I'll apply my wall membrane. I've got the fold onto the base. I'll make sure that I get it in the proper position. Okay. And then I can either, like I said, I can use a roller. I can roll that in, or I can use a flat side of a trowel. When you have a 8-foot tall wall, the roller goes pretty fast.
Right.
To get that in.
Now, if by chance the base wasn't large enough, that, I mean, I know it goes 72 by 72, but if somebody had something that was, let's just say 80 inches, they could probably mud around the perimeter.
Sure.
Basically, I'm going to say scab in a piece of additional membrane, give it a 2-inch overlap, and seam it together like that.
Sure.
To make it larger.
You could do that. You could have dry pack mortar to achieve that. Again, like I said, scab in, so a piece of membrane that it would at least go a 2-inch flap onto the
2-inch, yep.
onto the ProBase.
Yep. Or hit you with a custom base.
Or hit you with a custom base. Right.
So basically, we ran that membrane all the way from the ceiling height, the tile height, down the membrane,
down the membrane,
2-inch counter flashing it, seam it together with the same thing, or perhaps the 2 Noble Sealant 250.
Yeah, so this system can be seam sealed, not only the seams of the membrane, but the corners can be bonded into the base with the Noble Seal 250 sealant.
Right.
Okay. If you're going to use modified Thinset to bond with to the substrate, make sure those areas are clean.
Okay.
But there is an alternative that we use in modified Thinset, and that is our EXT glue.
For bonding the membrane to the substrate.
For bonding membrane to the substrate only. Now, with the EXT, do not try to use that as a seam sealer because it isn't waterproof. It's just
okay.
It's just
so if you're doing the EXT, then you don't want to do a 2-inch overlap with the EXT. You want to do the 2-inch overlap with a Noble Sealant 250.
Correct. You must use either 150 or 250 with the EXT.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you can see that I've cap stripped, and then I've did the wall lap. So those are the 2 different methods of transitioning to the base.
Right.
Okay. So now the only thing I have left to do this is I have the wall membranes to put on over my cap strip.
Okay.
Again, I'll just apply my modified Thinset. Now this time I'm just going to apply it to the top of the cap strip. I'm not transitioning onto the base.
Right.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we don't have to go all the way around with this. We'll just go ahead and put 1 piece of wall membrane on here.
Yep.
You get the good idea of that.
So basically, when you're done with a shower, it's looking like green.
It's looking all like green.
And you know what they say about green? It's the color of money.
Color of money.
Color of money.
So being that this is 36 inches wide, it all depends on the depth of your shower. So in this particular shower isn't quite 36-inch deep. So I've used the 36-inch wide membrane,
right.
and I just made a fold at the corner. So folding that corner and then also getting it out of the inside corner a little less buildup right there. So again, I'll just tool it in, get it down in proper position, and tool it in. So also the value seal is available in a 6-foot wide roll. So you're doing larger showers, you don't want any seams on the floor. The 6-foot wide roll is available.
Right.
For that.
Yep.
All right.
Less seams, almost a continuous wrap, right?
Less seams, that's correct. Yeah. Now, all these bases that you saw, all of them are available a la carte, so you can order just the base.
Okay.
All of our membrane is available a la carte. The Noble Seal 250 is available a la carte too. Now, the drains are sold separately.
Okay.
So
if we didn't wrap around this, we could basically have cut seam.
Two butt seams, that's correct. If we wanted to, like over here, if I ran my wall membrane down to this one, I could do a cap strip in the corner if you choose to do that too.
All right.
So either way.
So you can either wrap it or end it there and just throw a cap strip in there. Okay, we're starting to run out of time here. Okay. Let's get this wrapped up here. Yep. Let's see what this thing looks like with a strainer in it.
Yeah, so the strainer, we talked about how the height of the strainer, very, very low profile. So screw that strainer down, and the strainer itself is 3 7/8 wide by 3 7/8 wide, square strainer. What is nice about that is with your standard 2-inch mosaic tile sheets, you could take out 4 of the tiles and place it nicely over the strainer and still have a little bit of room.
A little bit of room around it.
Right. I talked about the orientation too. It's nice about, turning that is, hey, I want a 45 instead of, I decided to change my mind. I'm just going to do a 45 because I don't have to worry about the orientation of the drain body.
Right. Okay, we have a question from.
Yes. So if you do puncture the membrane, yeah. So the question was, what happens if I accidentally puncture a membrane? So take your Noble Seal 250 sealant. That comes with a kit. A 2-inch by 2-inch tire patch, basically. So you can just let me just cut that real quick. Show you patch. Make sure you get enough on there to totally seal that up. Tool that in over the patch.
Basically like you put an inner tube.
Just like you would an inner tube. Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about that 250 sealant. Now, if you choose to do all your corners and seaming with your 250 sealant, you can flood test within 2 hours. That's a big advantage. So you save the day in the installation of that system. Where modified Thinset, you're going to want to wait, we say 24 hours before you flood test.
Right. Okay. Flood test is required. With either way, you want to do a flood test, make sure it doesn't leak. So let's wrap this up here, Dave. Let's go down here a minute.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about what's included in the kit. Now we also have as you can see here, you have a roll-in shower with this system.
No curb there.
Yep, no curb there. Yep. So again, low profile, easy to achieve that. The kit also comes with a valve collar flashing.
Okay.
And a pipe collar flashing. And as you can see, this is more of the finished 8-foot tall installation of the system.
Yep. Okay. What's this giant hole in your wall here? So
Noble Company also offers a lot of different size niches. Okay. They're pre-waterproof. Stick them into the wall, run your membrane onto it, modified Thinset. It's done. It's ready for tile. One of the simplest niches there is to install. We also have benches. We have corner benches. We have linear benches. They will be applied into what I call the waterproof envelope.
Okay. Or you could probably add that to the existing tile.
You could add that to the existing tile. If you want to certify your tile, add it later and put a nice mosaic to that.
I mean, let's kind of wrap this up here. So, within the kit itself, it comes in 5 different sizes. We've gone over that. We won't hit it again, but it comes with the curbs, the membrane, all the seals, the corners, basically everything you need.
Yep. And the curbs.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay. I don't know. I'm thinking we should maybe, give one away.
I think so.
Can I have it?
Can I win? I'll make a deal on one.
Okay. Got a bucket.
Right here, folks.
Got a bucket. Okay. Here's what we're giving away.
60 center drain kit, and then just let us know what drain color you're going to want, strainer color.
And the winner would be, I can't tell you who it is, other than the name, Edward Oswald is our winner. Yeah. We will notify you to get this thing shipped to you. That's really about it. I think we have, like I say, future webinars coming up.
We do.
I think the curbless one here might be a great one. What do you think, Dave?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, got any questions about anything? You can call Noble Company, or you can go on our website at noblecompany.com to look at the installation videos and other products. So we have another question.
Couple questions.
It's a marine grade sealant, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard the question. That was is the sealant going to last? Is it going to mold? Is it going to degrade over time? The answer to that is no. It is a marine grade sealant designed for wet applications. It's been around actually for a few years in different areas of our construction industry, but it's a phenomenal sealant.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We got a couple more.
And used in conjunction with our TS, which is our lifetime warranty. That is a lifetime warranty on the sealant also.
Right. Will we be doing a session on a curb shop? I think that'd be a great suggestion.
It is a great
I think
suggestion. Yes,
so.
we will be.
Yeah, yes we are.
Yes, that's on our next one on our list.
Yes, the
Yes.
video will be available for sale. And no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, the video will be made available to everybody. See, not Netflix, right, Dave?
Netflix,
Netflix.
not Netflix.
Okay, let's see. We got any other questions coming in here? No, I think we're looking pretty good. Thank everybody very much for attending. We've enjoyed it. We hope we've given you something here to think about. It's a great product. It's definitely worth your considerations. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for joining us.